Starting now. And we are supposed to be live. Just let me make sure. If anyone comes to this video direct that we're doing right now, I here have the internet personality, fighter, coach, Ramsey Dewey, very well known in YouTube. Thank you for helping me out. I have a few questions for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Thanks for the invite, Sergio. I mean, I've been over in China behind the Great Firewall of China so long, and all these people have been asking for interviews or podcasts and whatever, and it's so difficult to do that over in China. But I'm here vacationing in the United States right now, so you were one of the first people to ask me to do a podcast. Way before my channel really got big. So
Thank
I
you.
figured, you know what, let's do this interview, man. Let's do this. Sergio, you've been waiting a long time to talk to me, so
I know,
and I
my.
appreciate the interest.
No, thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much again for your help. Just I want to say to the people, Ramsey is a MMA fighter, and he has a school in Shanghai. Just in case my subscribers don't know you, I'm pretty sure they do by now, because like the martial arts is a small niche. It's a small niche, and we more or less we have the same subscriber people that comment here and there. But I wanted to ask you, what motivated you to train martial arts, my friend?
Oh man, the first thing that motivated me to train martial arts was school bullies, to be honest. I was a much smaller than average child. I was my first generation American. I grew up in this very small Idaho town. My mother is British, and I grew up speaking very differently than the average kid in Idaho, and saying things like vitamin instead of vitamin. That can get you beaten up in a small town in rural America, man.
I know.
But yeah, I imagine, man. I imagine. And yeah, so I got into a lot of fights when I was a kid. I got picked on, I got beaten up, just harassed constantly. I thought I need to learn how to fight, and I remember seeing some Bruce Lee movies when I was a kid. Like a lot of martial artists, got inspired by watching Bruce Lee. This guy who's little but strong. He's technical and he's fast and he beats up just crowds of people. And I saw this and I was like, I need to learn how to do that. I need to learn kung fu. And yeah, I mean, so many martial artists have a very similar story to that. But that was my first interest in martial arts. But again, very small town, no martial arts schools anywhere.
Wow.
So I did the next best thing. I went to the library and I
Okay.
checked out all the books on fighting I could find, books on boxing and wrestling and kung fu and karate and taekwondo. And I thought, these books are going to give me the secret. It's going to show me the secret magical moves. And the very first book I opened up, it was a book on karate. I don't remember
Okay.
what the title was or who wrote it, but the very first page said, karate is not magic. And immediately my heart sank. I was like, but I want it to be magic.
You were
I
expecting
want
a
that.
solution. You weren't expecting a fast solution.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of people out there on the internet looking at technique videos, I wanted a magic trick to solve my problems. I wanted that magic pill. And it said, karate is not magic. Martial arts is not magic. It is hard work. It is discipline. You have to be an athlete. You have to work really hard at this stuff to make it work. And I'm so glad I picked up that book first out of anything, because that is the message I needed. It's not the message I wanted, but it's the message I needed.
Very important.
And, to this day, that's a message I try to reiterate every time I make a video. I always finish by saying, thanks for watching. Now get out there and train. And that's not just a fun sounding tagline. I mean, it's the truth of martial arts. It's how you get results from it. Get out there and train. And I've been saying that for 13 years on YouTube.
True.
And yeah, and I'm never going to stop saying it.
It's honestly, it even has motivated me. Sometimes I get off work and I'm beat up and tired, and I ate, and I'm having this hard time getting up to go to the gym. And I think about you and said, okay, if Ramsey were here, would say, get up and train. And I just stand up and say one foot in front of the other. And then by the time I finish, I am already at the gym.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I think
So,
some of the training sessions I've had myself are those days where I feel like that, like I don't want to go. I'm too tired. I'm too sore. I am too beat. I'll get more out of just sitting here resting today, but I force myself to go. And it's like I have these revelations in the gym about things that didn't make sense before. And yeah. But going back to how I got into martial arts, my first actual like formal martial arts class, I was 17 years old when I started university. I graduated high school a year earlier than a lot of other people, and I went to Brigham Young University when I was 17 years old, and they offered martial arts classes as part of the PE curriculum.
okay.
And so I signed up for a karate class. That's how it was listed in the course catalog. I was really excited because that book I read and I studied about karate. Yeah, exactly, all the blocks and but it turned out to be a Taekwondo class.
Oh.
And initially I was disappointed, like, what? Taekwondo? What is that? I don't even know what that is. And well, I learned Taekwondo. I mean, that was my first introduction. And at first I was a little disappointed, but then I realized pretty quickly that's where you learn all the cool looking kicks, man. So I got really excited about that. And I've got long legs and I'm a pretty flexible guy, and so I took to Taekwondo like a fish to water. And I just kept doing all the martial arts I could. My university had all these different martial arts clubs: capoeira, Shotokan karate, Japanese jiu-jitsu, all these things. So I joined them all. I did them all, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. But how I got into professional fighting,
Okay.
that's a different story. I really had no intention of being a professional fighter.
Okay.
Like, to me, martial arts, it was like, I finished school and there were no more bullies. Well, I shouldn't say that. Bullies change their form
Yes.
when you get older.
Yes.
When you're a little kid, they can get away with assaulting you and they don't go to prison for it. But, when you're adult, you go to prison for assaulting people. You just can't do that anymore. And so bullies change their tactics. So again, after college, I struggled to find employment. I really did. It was a tough market back then. I had a degree in Spanish and a degree in modern dance, and that's a weird combination when you're looking for employment.
That'd be good if you go to South America.
Yeah, I guess if I wanted to be a dance choreographer in South America, sure, but up in the United States, not so much. But yeah, so I kind of fallen on hard times, and there was this professional fight show, and they were offering not even that much money. It was like $50 to show, and then $50 more to win. And I was working 3 jobs at the time, and I had a bunch of bills I needed to pay, and I just needed $50 extra every month to make it. And I thought, well, there's an opportunity. I have martial arts training. Let's use it. And so I signed up for a kickboxing match, a pro kickboxing match. I'd never done an amateur fight. Well, an amateur kickboxing match.
Just straight into the Shark Tank.
Yeah, exactly. Straight into the Shark Tank. And I figured, how...
Let me say something really quick, just to validate your point, because I've been there.
Yeah.
When you don't have any money, $50 is a lot of money. A lot of money. Yeah. Because I've been there.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't sound like much, especially now in like 2019 dollars, but back then that was the difference between being able to eat and starving.
Yes.
So, man. So again, I'd done a ton of Taekwondo competitions, Taekwondo tournaments. I figured, it's kicking and punching just like Taekwondo, but you can't punch the head in Olympic style Taekwondo. And that's kind of a big difference. But, in my desperation, I didn't really think about it much until round 1. This guy comes out, a guy with some amateur boxing experience, and I think he's like a karate black belt, something like that. and he just starts punching me. And you know, in theory, and I think this is where a lot of traditional martial artists fail, is there's a lot of theory.
Yes.
Like in theory, we know how to punch, we know how to punch the head, we know how to do all these things, but we don't do them live. We don't do them live to the degree that it takes to not freeze.
Yes.
A lot of people say fighting is fight or flight, but they forget about freezing. I think that is the most common human reaction to violence, is to freeze in the face of it. And that's exactly what I did. For like the first round, I just kind of froze, and the guy was just punching me in the face. And I was like, whoa, this is what punching in the face feels like. This is weird and different, and I kind of hate this. And after a while, I kind of gathered my nerve and started throwing punches back at him. But, you know, it was too little and too late. And it turned out to be a 3-round decision, lost the fight, lost the decision. But afterwards, I thought, you know, I just got punched in the face like 90 times and I'm still alive. And that was kind of amazing to me. I mean, looking back, it sounds kind of crazy, but that was kind of amazing to me. So, you know, I signed up for another one and another one and another one. I did a bunch of kickboxing matches. I started doing Muay Thai fights, you know, with the elbows and the knees and the clinching and all that. And yeah, you know, if the connection's going out, I'm just seeing a photograph of you here.
Oh no, it's just I am not moving. I am not moving. And just
okay. No worries, no worries.
I'm all ears.
All right, no worries. So the way I got into mixed martial arts, and I really had no interest in competing in martial arts. I'd heard of it. I'd seen the first few UFCs, and I thought, oh man, grappling, I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in that. But again, financial desperation is a great motivator. Yeah. And there was an MMA fighter. He's a friend of mine now, but you know, back then, for some reason, there was a bit of a fight that broke out on the internet. I don't even remember why, but he said some harsh words toward me and challenged me to a fight. He said, "You're just a kickboxer. You don't know how to grapple. If we got in a real cage fight, an MMA fight, I would kick your butt." And I thought about that, and I thought, well, I'm a pragmatic person. Let's put it to the test. So I accepted the challenge, and I did my first MMA fight. Fortunately for me, he really didn't know what he was doing either. He wasn't a great fighter and a great grappler, and if you look at my Sherdog record, which it's got a number of inaccuracies, it says I won the fight via guillotine choke, and that's not actually true. It was liver shots. I grabbed him in a front headlock, which looks a little like a guillotine choke, but it's not, just a front headlock. And I started throwing liver shots. He crumpled on the ground, and he tapped to the strikes. Thought was, MMA is easy, man. I didn't even need to wrestle or do jiu-jitsu or any of that garbage. This is great. So again, I signed up for another fight and very quickly learned my lesson. No, you need to be a complete fighter. You have to know how to grapple. You need to know how to wrestle. You have to have a competent understanding of jiu-jitsu and clinch fighting and all these other ranges of combat. Frankly, I got my butt kicked a little bit. This happened a few times, but yeah, I'm glad it did, because, well, it helped to make me the coach that I am today. So anyway, that's my story about how I got into martial arts in general, how I got into mixed martial arts.
I have a few questions, because somebody like you are very eloquent and have a lot of experience, could help me out and could help our subscribers.
Sure.
You practice Taekwondo, and then for MMA you have practiced Muay Thai, I guess.
Correct.
For you, what is the main difference in the kicks, let's say, between Taekwondo style kicks and Muay Thai? I want you to give your input on that.
Okay. You know, there are a lot of ways you could answer that question. And I trained for a number of years with this guy from Thailand named Chanan Sinsub. He was a Lumpini Boxing Stadium champion and had several other national titles in Thailand. A guy had like 500 professional fights, some ridiculous fight record like that. Been
Wow.
fighting since he was 5 years old. And I met him in Shanghai. He moved from Thailand to Shanghai after he retired from fighting. And I asked him a very similar question about Muay Thai kicks, and he looked puzzled, and he said, "What kind of kick?" And I said, "Well, yeah, a Muay Thai kick." And he said,
Yeah, yeah.
"What kind of
Fine.
Muay Thai kick?" I was like, "Well, a roundhouse kick." He was like, "What kind of roundhouse kick?" And he kept like asking, "Well,
Digging.
what kind?" Be very, very specific, because there are a lot of different ways to kick. And one thing I learned from him is there are actually a number of different styles of Muay Thai. Like if you look at the Thai fighters when they walk in the ring, they've got this headdress on,
Hmm.
and they've got their armbands, and they do the Ram Wai, the Wai Crew dance, and all of those things reference their training camp, their style, and of course they all have similarities and commonalities. But I mean, sometimes you'll see side kicks and spinning hook kicks and all these other kicks which we think of as taekwondo kicks
Hmm.
in Muay Thai. I mean, most of the time we see the round kicks and the front kick, the teep.
The tip.
But I think the reason for that is the range of combat, because those are kicks that come out at the toe-to-toe range the best. Whereas at the toe-to-toe range, the side kick, there's not really much space for that unless you change your position
Yes.
relative to your opponent. The spinning hook kick, same thing. Turning back kick, same thing. But the round kick and the teep, they can come out at boxing range, toe-to-toe.
Yes.
And that is where most Muay Thai fights traditionally take place, simply because of I would say the custom. And there are a
Hmm.
lot of reasons why they have that custom, one of which is betting. Like if you watch fights in Thailand, it's very different than if you watch fights in America. The first round is always very slow and very paced, almost like a light sparring pace. And then
Okay.
each round, they accelerate, they go harder, they go faster, they try to hurt each other more. And then the fifth and final round, they're going nuts, and you're like, whoa, these guys got so much more energy. What happened? Whereas you watch American fighters, they start out really hard and heavy, and then they wind down toward the end.
Yes.
But
Very good analysis.
yeah, and part of that is because of betting. Because gambling, it's technically illegal in Thailand, except for at the fights it happens anyway, and so they kind of let it slide. And so in round one, traditionally the fighters start out very slow paced to give people time to place the bets. At least that's what I've been told. So that toe-to-toe range plays very well into that dynamic. So I I have seen Thai fighters use snap kicks like you would see in Taekwondo or karate to the head, but as far as to the leg or to the body or the shin, like to the back of the head,
Hmm.
and I know some people might say it's illegal to kick the back of the head, but there are
Yes. Ways to do it.
certain positions where you can get away with it. One of which is a round kick, and you wrap that shin around the back of the head. Yeah, nobody's going to disqualify you for that. So yeah, when we say Thai kick, we're generally thinking about a round kick where we throw the body into it without the snap.
Hmm.
Um, and I've seen a few different ways to do that from Thai fighters from Thailand. Um, some people they'll throw their upper body into it. You'll see this a lot from Dutch kickboxers. Throw the upper body into it as a way to generate power in the lower body, almost like doing a violent sit up. I've seen people throw their leg up and down like a rainbow, big arc, to generate power from the fall, if you
Hmm.
will. But overall, I would say in this Thai style kick that most of us think of when we say Thai kick, the power is generated from the standing leg rather than the kicking leg.
Correct.
Whereas if you look at the snap kicks that we see a lot in traditional martial arts and generally associate with taekwondo, karate, etc., it's a lot about action from the patellar tendon, right at
Yes.
the knee. Yeah, there's other stuff in play. There's the turn and the pivot and all that from the standing leg, but that patellar tendon plays such a key role in that, to the point that I actually developed a really bad case of patellar tendonitis in my left knee from so many snap kicks. Like, one thing I used to pride myself on was my left high snap kick. Like, I did this so much in
Uh-huh.
taekwondo competition. I prided myself at being able to throw that kick out faster than most people could throw the jab. And I did so many repetitions of that.
That
I
you
developed,
damage your patella.
yeah, exactly. So I'm a lot slower now than I used to be as far as, pumping out those fast kicks. But I would say it's a good thing because the limitations forced me to become a better fighter and a better coach overall. So, yeah.
That's thank you very much for answering that question, because that's something I get asked a lot, and they tell me, Sergio, what is the difference between snapping kicks and multi-round kicks? And I'd rather somebody like you to explain it. Now, Ramsey, I'm gonna ask you a question that is very relevant to this channel, and I need your
Okay.
help with it. Why do you think that most kung fu sucks? Why do you think that most kung fu
Ah,
fighters fail? What do you think is
the
happening to the kung fu guys? Because me myself, so you know, the first martial art I trained was karate. I trained since, actually no, I'm lying. I did boxing, but I don't remember any of it. I was 6 years old, so I don't remember any of it. Then I did taekwondo like for 3 months, and my teacher left the town. Then I did karate since I was 7 until I was 15. It was in Cuba, very different than here, because we train like 2 hours a day, like professional athletes, very, very hardcore. And we had to go to competitions every month. Karate in Cuba was done full contact. It's not like light contact like here. We even do the Suki and Yakosuki to the face. When I go to America and
oh,
I
really?
saw, yeah, all the time. I'm actually all full of small cuts here, here. My nose is, I mean, the camera won't show, but my nose is moved down from punches. My lip inside, you see all that white, is all scars from the Yakosukis and the Sukis. And then I met a guy who showed me kung fu. I just want to explain it really quick. It's
Yeah.
very similar, the style he showed me, except by the forms, to what we see in MMA today. He had some level of grappling, very limited. I would
Hmm.
say how to do an armbar, different type of armbar, how to get out of it, how to do a triangle, how to defend and do rear neck chokes, a lot of leg. I forgot the name in English. That the leg locks, a lot of leg locks and ankle locks,
Right.
and it will include small joint manipulation in the floor, plus the dirty stuff that you mentioned, that in one video you want to give a professional fighter more tools. So that's what we had, like the eye poking, pulling hair, plus the small joint manipulation, plus more or less the standard techniques. And he had a lot of self-defense, and he had um, a lot of low kicks, and he had a lot of stuff with the hand, and a lot of circular movement. Especially, I will send you a couple of videos later that
Okay, sure.
we will use that against, let's say, a round kick. Instead of just blocking, we will take it and redirect it. That was the idea behind of it. So it was really good.
So basically, this was not a McDojo.
No, 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 not at all. Actually,
Okay.
we had people from the, I forgot. I think it's in your city, Shanghai, the big wushu sports university. They were going
Yeah,
to
the Shanghai
Cuba.
Sports University.
There you go. They were going to Cuba to learn those styles from us, because we had styles that arrived in Cuba before 1959 that they were unknown in China. So the old Chinese and their sons of the Chinese guys that were there in Havana, they had the style. So they sent people to Cuba to learn, and in return they were teaching Tai Chi and they were teaching Wushu, the sports Wushu, to the to
Right.
the to the Cuban Kung Fu people in the association which I train with. So when I got to America and I see what Kung Fu is here, I was disappointed. And I will
Yeah.
not understand why something that was working there, it wasn't working here. So I want your help explaining what you think is that.
Well, I would say it's basically two different things trying to share the same name. So I see this with a lot of martial arts. Like I made a video a while back. It gets a lot of views called "What Do I Think About Krav Maga," where I talk about my experience with Krav Maga and how I've met a lot of really, really bad Krav Maga instructors who were just terrible, absolutely terrible at fighting, at hand-to-hand combat, didn't know anything about self-defense or weapons or anything that they professed to know. And I've met a couple of legitimate ones. I actually had the opportunity to train with
Okay.
these two guys who taught Krav Maga in the Israeli army. They were former Israeli military, and these guys could fight. These guys could legitimately fight. They could scrap. They could throw down. They could hold their own. Um, and I had a conversation with them about how incredibly different Krav Maga or my experience with Krav Maga is in America. And I'm sure a lot of people in the comments may practice Krav Maga and say, no, my school is legit or whatever. And I'm not judging anybody's Krav Maga school right here, just speaking
Okay.
of my own experience. And one of them said, Krav Maga isn't self-defense. It's about aggression. It's like a 2-week hand-to-hand combat course that they give to soldiers in the military to get them to go toward the danger instead of run away from it. So this whole concept of McDoJos in America was so mind-boggling to them. Like, why would that happen? How does that happen? And I've seen this happen with pretty much every martial art, most of them. I've seen it happen with Taekwondo. Like I love Taekwondo. I love that sport. I had so much fun doing that. I had so many great life-changing experiences through Taekwondo. It taught me a lot of great, important principles that I use to this day. At the same time, I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen,
Mm-hmm.
a ton of Taekwondo players who absolutely suck, not just
Yes.
at martial arts, but suck at Taekwondo.
Yes.
And you so many like little kids wearing black belts. Like, how does this happen? How did Taekwondo go from being this legitimate martial art that produced people who knew how to fight to martial arts themed daycare? How did that happen? And in many ways, the same thing has happened to kung fu. Like people,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, they watched Bruce Lee movies, they watched kung fu movies when they were kids, and they got excited to learn martial arts. And they went out looking for a kung fu school, and they couldn't find it. The demand was there. So what happens when there's a demand, but there's a vacuum where that product or service should be? Well, somebody steps in to fill it, and that somebody who steps in to fill it is not always qualified to fill it.
Underqualified
So
structures.
yeah, so that's one thing is supply and demand, not enough supply, too much demand. Um, but I mean, we could point the blame in a lot of different directions. We could talk about the Chinese Cultural Revolution, and yeah, that had a huge impact on martial arts. Um, but let's gravitate away from that for a minute. That was a while ago. Let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about right now. Like right now in China, you've probably seen some of these videos on the internet of fake kung fu masters getting into MMA fights with professional fighters and just getting the snot beaten out of them. And I asked my viewers this question: why does this keep happening? Because a bunch of these have happened over here. I'm not in China right now. I'm in Los Angeles. A bunch of these have happened over there in China
Can I
in the last few
interrupt?
months.
Can
Yeah,
I interrupt you there to tell you a small
sure.
story that happened to me? By the way, do you know I see Mike?
Not personally, but I know him from YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, I was with him like 2 months ago, and we talked about this, and he told me the emperors of of a story of an emperor that wanted the best clothing and the best clothing, and
Yeah,
to the
the Emperor's
point,
New Clothes. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, to the point that the guy who was making the clothes said, hey, didn't put any clothes, and start saying, you look amazing, you have the best clothing in the world. Everybody starts saying the same, because if not, they will get in trouble with the emperor. And he convinced himself that he was wearing the best outfit possible. So I met one guy that was back in actually the year 2000, who went to my house in Cuba to have a fight. I had a small school in the backyard of my house, and the guy went. But before having a fight, he would tell me that he was an expert in Tai Chi, that he had discovered how to knock down people with the chi, which I said, that's impossible. How you gonna knock me down without touching me? And then he said something very stupid, and he said, and not only that, I developed an energy shield, so if you hit me, I won't feel it.
Oh man.
And yeah, and I looked at him and said, you sure? I said, yeah. And then he told me, throw me something. And I did a really hard hook. And he takes a punch. He like do some movement, like trying to absorb it. I think he felt the pain. He kneeled, and then he vomits. And he was
Ah,
looking at me like, what had happened? And why did your strike hurt me a lot? And
like
I
he was
thought,
genuinely confused about that.
exactly. Then
Like he actually believed his own hype.
I start talking to the guy, and to make things worse, he was an excellent, I cannot tell you fighter, but he had the skills. He could do good jabs, cross, good round kicks, spinning kicks, jumping kicks. He could do the double leg takedown. But he started getting to these meditative states and doing a lot of Tai Chi to the air. And he started convincing himself and his students that that was real. And he met me. And that's what happened. He then landed in reality, and for what I know, he's now doing kickboxing. For what
Oh,
I
good for
know,
him.
he stopped doing all that bullshit. He does still do Tai Chi, practice Tai Chi for health, but he doesn't do it anymore, thinking that he's gonna develop the no touch chaos that we see.
Yeah.
So, keeping your point and continue with your point, I think that they start lying to their students and themselves, and a lie that has been said 100 times, it becomes a reality. It becomes a
Oh
truth.
yeah. It's like the mere exposure effect. It's a psychological concept that when we are exposed to something repeatedly, we start to believe it. It's how advertisements work. We hear them 100 times, and so we're like, oh, well, that product must be pretty good because I've heard it so much. But yeah, that is interesting. When you are a coach or an instructor, when you have any type of following, there is a tremendous temptation to abuse that power. Like right now, I just I guess I've got over 100,000 viewers or subscribers on YouTube
Mhm.
right now, which it's pretty cool. At the same time, I get a lot of positive feedback. I mean, there's haters and all that, but it's mostly positive feedback. And they say things like, "Oh, Ramsey, you're so great, great job, master," and that word scares me when people call me master. I'm like, no, no, don't call me that. Don't call me that, man. I don't
Wait,
want.
but in
Yeah,
my book, you are a master. In my book, you're a master because you teach, and then you keep learning. So you try to master your body and your skills. So you are a master.
and I can appreciate that. I can appreciate how you're saying that. At the same time, the reason I don't like hearing that is because of how it affects me psychologically. I don't want to think of myself that way. I don't want to think of myself as um, any kind of title that elevates me above anybody else, especially not the people that I'm trying to coach. Um, Especially in the sport of mixed martial arts, like my job is to teach fighters to win fights. And I'm 40 years old now. I've been retired from professional fighting for a while. I've got a hole in my head, a literal hole in my head from my last fight. Dude broke my skull. And if if my students were not able to beat me in a fight, I would be disappointed with them. Like if the professional fighters that I send out could not give me a run for my money, man, I would say, no, you don't belong in a pro fight yet. So the idea of this untouchable master that will always stand above his students in every way, that's oh man, I hate that so much. But yeah, it's a power that can easily be abused. It can go to your head really easily.
It can
When
corrupt you. It
it
will
can.
corrupt you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's walking a very thin line. A very thin line of how can I put this? It's like, should I be a crazy sociopath and abuse my power, or should I yeah, or should I listen to the angel on my other shoulder and act in the best interest of my students? I did an interview this morning with McDojo Life. We were talking about McDoJos and whatnot, and a similar subject came up about how it gets to the state where people believe in like no touch knockouts and stuff. And I told this story. I'll tell it again here. I had this new student come into the gym a few years ago, and I was teaching jiu-jitsu, like showing a sweep or something, really simple movement to go from the bottom to the top. And I start the movement, and the guy falls over, like long before I finish the movement. And I ask him, "Why did you fall down?" And he said, "I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Like I don't want to like be a problem or anything. I'm just trying to do what I'm supposed to do." And I've started calling people like this the overly cooperative training partner. And they come in with the best of intentions. They want to do what they're supposed to do, but they are extremely susceptible to suggestion. And I basically had to train him out of that, teach him, you only fall down if you are physically forced to fall down. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying, don't be a jerk to your training partners and don't let them practice a sequence when you're learning how to do the move. But yeah, don't fall down unless you're physically forced to fall down.
I have a thought for you that I want you to evaluate in regards to that.
Sure.
I think that the problem that Kung Fu doesn't work is because what it attracts. People
Okay.
want to be invincible and they don't like to sweat.
Yeah.
And when I mean sweat is, I usually go every day to the gym like 2 or 3 hours. I have to work very hard because if not, I will get 300 pounds fast. So I usually do different sets, but mostly I like to work with the heavy bag, like for 12 rounds, 3-minute rounds,
Yeah.
resting only 10 seconds. And then I do, let's say, chest and tricep. Next day, it will be back and bicep, and I will rotate. But honestly, after a time, that's not enough. And I was going to go to Mexico, and I went for a couple of sparrings I was going to do, and I started training seriously. So I will wake up at 5 a.m. and I will start running, and then running sideways, and then running backwards, and then doing sit-ups, and then jumping. And then they said I will run with 2 pounds weights on my hand, and I will sweat and sweat, and I will feel bad, and I will looking to the sky and say why I'm doing this, why I choose martial arts. But then every day after training, I will feel better and better. Then I will go spar with many people, come back with a black eye, and then I will feel better. But during the sparring, I will feel like dying. So I think that
Yeah.
people don't want to go through that process. They want to skip all that and go to the I'm gonna be invincible. So I think that's why Kung Fu doesn't work lately, because people don't want to do sparring. They don't want to fight. They just want to do chi sao, or they just want to work with the air and the Hadouken.
Yeah.
I think
Because
that's what
hard
it
work
is.
is hard, man. They, it's people in the exact same frame of mind that I was when I picked up that first karate book and was initially disappointed when it said hard work is hard. You got to work hard at this. It is sweat. It's blood, sweat, and tears, man. And yeah, it has a lot to do with turning a martial art into a business. I would say in the modern world, I mean, forget about the
Okay.
about the what are we talking about? The the Communist Cultural Revolution in
Uh-huh.
China. I mean, we can point the blame at all we want, but again, that was decades ago. Right now, why does Kung Fu not work right now, if you will? It is the economics of running a martial arts business. So to run a successful business, you have to fill that gym with people. And if you look at any martial arts school, how is most of the revenue generated? Kids' classes.
That's true.
Yeah, kids' classes. And there's nothing wrong with having kids' classes. Kids learning martial arts at an early age, that's great. However, I would say because of poor planning,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps instructors who don't really understand how to teach children or keep their attention, because that's hard. It is a very specialized skill set that most instructors don't have. I mean, I used to teach kids classes a long time ago, like kids taekwondo classes, and it was hard, man. I had an impossible time trying to keep these kids' attention,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually I gave up on kids classes for the longest time. I've recently started a kids class again, and I'm approaching it very, very differently than before, because you have to. I've learned a whole lot more about the pedagogy of teaching children now. But yeah, the average person, let's say I'm a taekwondo expert. I kind of am, but yeah, I'm a taekwondo expert, and I want to have a taekwondo gym. Well, your question's about kung fu, so let's just say I'm a kung fu expert, and I
Okay.
want to have a kung fu gym, okay? And I want to make money off of it. So I know how to do kung fu. I know how to do it legitimately. I know how to
Okay.
fight, okay? But as my older brother often says, artists are worst businessmen. And the more I live, the more I realize this is mostly true.
I agree.
So I can be the greatest fighter, the greatest kung fu guy out there. I can do, all the moves, but maybe I can even teach it. But can I make a living off of it? That's a whole different skill set. Fighting, teaching, business, all different skill sets. And so we start out with people who have the best interest in mind of their students. I am a legitimate fighter. I'm going to teach them to fight legitimately. And then the bills come. The rent is due. Oh no, I only have like 2 real students here. That's not paying the bills. What do I do? Run some kids classes. I don't know how to teach kids classes. I've never done that before. That's a skill set I don't have. I can't teach kids to be legitimate killers. So what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Martial arts themed daycare. And
Yeah.
then that becomes the biggest seller. That becomes the crux, the focus of the gym from that point on. And I think this happens with most martial arts businesses. And that's part of the reason why I avoided kids classes for the longest time. Just one, it's really hard, and two, I didn't want my classes to turn into a martial arts themed daycare. So I wouldn't say that's the only reason, but that is a big one. Um,
Okay. It's a very valid point, and I think you nail it, man. That's what it is. And I never thought about it like when you said that the revolution in China was a long time ago. It's true, man. It was a long time ago. These people should not be putting that as an excuse. They should go and train, like you said at the end of every video. They should
yeah,
go and hit pads and spar and condition your body and condition your mind and do different type of training and meet different martial arts so that way you know how to defend yourself. I
yeah,
always say to my students, you cannot defend what you don't know how to do,
mm,
because I see many people saying, "Oh, if somebody does a double leg takedown to you, I'm just gonna hit him with the elbow on my back."
yeah.
Nope,
Everybody says that when they don't know how to
nope,
wrestle.
nope. That's
Yeah,
gonna
man.
go like a rocket to your lower part. It's gonna take you down, and even if you hit him, you are not gonna have enough base to cause any damage. That's what I always tell
Yeah,
people.
yeah. It's like one little rabbit punch exchange for the worst possible position in a fight. That's a poor trade, man. That's a poor trade. Another idea. that I
Okay.
think is really important to stress about Kung Fu in China specifically. I don't want anybody to think that there are no legitimate fighters in China. There are. There really
Okay.
are. There are a lot of great Chinese martial artists. However, as you said before, people don't want to sweat. Now, most of the great Chinese martial artists, if you will, right now are at the sports universities. The Shanghai Sports
Mm-hmm.
University, the Xi'an Sports University, the Beijing Sports University. These government-controlled Sanda teams and fight teams across the country, and these are opportunities that are not available to the public. You can't just say, "Hey, I want to go train at this gym and sign up for the China top team at the Xi'an Sports University." It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work like that.
It's a yeah.
You have to be
So
selected.
you have to be selected at a young age, and then they train, and periodically they're tested, and you can get cut from the program after investing years of your life into it. For example, Elong, that guy who dresses up in the monk robes like a Shaolin monk and does kickboxing matches. Now,
Mm-hmm.
he's a real legitimate kickboxer, but what a lot of people don't know is he's not a real Shaolin monk. He never trained in Henan at the Shaolin Temple. He
Mm-hmm.
trained at the Shanghai Sports University in Sanda, in the Sanda program.
He did
But
Sanda and Wushu or just Sanda?
Sanda,
Okay.
but he got cut from the program before he was able to go into the main program and graduate. And so he had spent his life training in Sanda. So as a recourse, what did he do? He was like, well, this is what I know how to do. How do I make money off of this? So he puts on this character, puts on this costume, like a pro wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Puts on this gimmick. Like the Iron Sheik is not actually Persian royalty. He's a guy in a costume with a gimmick. And so people get excited about it when they watch pro wrestling. It's the same exact thing with Elong. And again, he's one of those guys who's probably one of the more famous Sanda fighters in America because of his gimmick.
Yeah.
But again, he got cut from the program. And that's what's kind of mind-boggling about that. Essentially, the guy who failed out of college, if you will, is the one everybody knows. But again, it's very strict. It's a very strict process. When people talk about being Sanda champion, like Chinese national Sanda champion,
Mm-hmm.
that is a very intense tournament. Like there are a lot of people who claim to be a champion, a national champion in China, and
Oh,
they won some kind of competition, but not the competition. Like the national tournament, it's like 16
three
days.
fighting every day, three, four, five
Yes,
people.
they fight like 3 or 4 fights a day for 16 days. And essentially, if you win all of your fights, then you are the king of Sanda. You are the Sanda Wong. So that's a big deal. That's like a best to the best type of thing.
Let me ask you something. Do you like more Sanda because it has good strikes and takedown, or do you like more MMA? I mean, as a visual stuff, not for practicality, for visual stuff.
For visuals, that's a good question. I've seen so much Sanda. I've competed professionally in Sanda here or I keep saying here in China when I'm in Los Angeles. There in China, done a number of Sanda fights there, and I do sports commentary now for Kunlun Fight, the Kunlun Fight Combat League,
Okay.
over in Tonglin, and I see Sanda all the time. I train with Sanda fighters, for the last decade. So it's a style that I've really grown accustomed to. I really enjoy it. I love the Sanda throws. Like I should stress it's not a specific style. Like Sanda is a mixed martial art, really.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these Sanda camps, it's not like a lot of people think of it like there's Shotokan karate and there is praying mantis kung fu and then there is Sanda. No, it's not like that. It's essentially whatever fighting technique it takes to win the fight. That's Sanda.
Good.
Now you'll see a few techniques that are fairly common throughout all the major sports universities, like the way they use the sidekick to lead into attack or to finish a combination. a very specific syllabus of throws and takedowns, mostly because of the boxing gloves and the rule that you don't score if you go to the ground with your opponent. So you have to do the throws in a very specific way. But other than that, I mean, a lot of these guys cross-train in Muay Thai and boxing and Taekwondo and karate and all of these other things. Basically, whatever their coaches believe gives them the edge in the fight, they train that. Wrestling, folk wrestling,
Everything.
yeah.
Everything.
So again, it's not a specific style, but yeah, I really enjoy Sanda. I use a lot of the things I've learned from the Sanda fighters I've trained with, and the Sanda coaches I've trained with. But yeah, the throws are, I would say, the most visually spectacular part, specifically because when you can dump a guy on his butt and just walk away from it, yeah, it's not the most practical thing to do, but it
But
is fun to see.
I know, I know. Well, it all depends because if you do it on the street,
Oh yeah,
it's gonna
yeah.
incapacitate or should incapacitate somebody.
Especially a guy who doesn't know how to break fall or anything like that. Yeah, you dump on his head. Yeah, he's dead pretty much. But
I
do that to a trained fighter who knows how to fall on a padded canvas ring. Yeah, they're gonna be fine.
I have a question for you and for my subscribers. I'm gonna let you to answer, but I
Okay.
have a question. I have fought MMA, I fought kickboxing, Muay Thai, and karate. Next month there is competition. I think it's called continuous sparring.
Okay.
It's kicks above the waist, and you cannot work by knockout. If you win by knockout, you lose the fight.
Okay.
Uh, I get a lot of trolling, and Javier, he has a school here. He's a instructor here of Kung Fu, and he told me, "Hey, come next month with me to the fight. I need you there on the team." But I'm conflicted because, again, I get a lot of accusations because I like Kung Fu on my channel. And my question to you is, should I go to that fight just for fun and try it out? Or should I just avoid it? Because in reality, I think it can be counterproducing. You have to
Okay.
work on technique. It's not like you're going to go swinging. You have to actually, you win by technique, scoring points, but technique. I don't know. Should I
Yeah.
go?
That's a good question. I've a lot of my subscribers have asked me to review like martial arts tournaments like this, like what is it? Cook So Wan does a competition format kind of like that. Like you can't win by knockout. If you hurt your opponent, it's a foul. So you have to get like really close or really light and something like that. And it's yeah, it can be really confusing to the viewers if they don't know the rules and they don't know what's going on. Like the first match, I watched it without having read the rules at all, and I thought, man, these guys suck. And then I read the rules, and I was like, oh, okay, I understand what they're doing now. I get it. But without the context of the rules, something like that to the average person can be very confusing. And the average person doesn't do their homework. They don't read the rules. They don't look at the context behind the match. They don't want the backstory. They just want to make their own.
Mind or
Yeah,
thought.
exactly. So,
I don't know what to do. I'm confused.
if you're going to broadcast this on your channel, maybe preface it with these are the rules. This is why it's going to look the way it looks. And I got an invitation like 9 years ago to
Okay.
compete in a Kyokushin karate tournament, and I'd never competed under Kyokushin rules in my life. And I told them like I've never competed in Kyokushin, and they were like, oh, I bet you're a professional fighter. You're a Taekwondo black belt. You've done Shotokan. It's kind of the same thing. And I was like, but it's kind of not. But I did it, and it was a vastly different experience.
Okay.
Any subtle change in the rules is going to
Affecting.
dramatically change the outcome. Yeah. But, I wasn't concerned about, am I going to look good? Are people going to judge me? Because, I didn't even have a camera back then.
Okay.
Um, so, um,
I don't know what
I
to
would
do.
say overall, I'm glad I did it because of the experience, because experience makes us better. But yeah, I see where you're coming from. I totally get where you're coming from. When you're a public figure on YouTube, people they want to put you up on a pedestal. Like your fans want you to be invincible. They want you to never lose
Yeah.
face. And I get it. I get it. At the same time, though, something that Rob from McDojo Life he said this morning. I was talking about one of my early YouTube videos, and I took it down from YouTube. Um, it was about triangle choke escape,
Okay.
and I thought it was a pretty good technique. It's a technique that I used a lot, and it worked pretty well against the guys I was training with at the time. And I put it up there thinking, okay, nobody else is using this escape, so I'll put it up there. And I got a comment from Jeremy Horn,
Okay.
from
Yeah,
UFC champion, world champion 4 times over, Jeremy Horn.
I know. I
And he
know who
said,
is.
yeah, he said, this technique is garbage. You're doing it wrong and you're going to get people hurt because of this reason and this reason and this reason. And initially I felt hurt, because that's our human instinct to get angry when we're told we're wrong. But I took it to heart. I realized, okay, this guy is a world champion. This guy knows what he's talking about. I need to pay attention. He has experience I don't have. And so I changed the way I trained. I changed the way I did that technique.
It
And
improved.
yeah, and something Rob from McDojo Life said. He said you should make a video about that technique. You should put that out there. You should show your viewers that you were wrong, because people can relate to that. People, it's this idea that people, we think they want an infallible hero to put up on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
But what they really need is someone they can relate to, that shows them how to overcome their own weaknesses. So I had this idea. I'm going to make a video about that experience, show them exactly why I was wrong, what I was doing wrong, and help them perhaps fix some of the mistakes they're making themselves that they're not able to see at that moment. So maybe you could do something similar, make a video about this.
Okay.
Don't worry about people judging you. Preface it with, here are the rules of the competition. This is why we're not trying to knock each other out. This is why it looks like a friendly sparring match or whatever. And then maybe some commentary as you go along. And if you make mistakes, if you look bad, talk through it. Explain
Yeah.
why. Explain
Good
how you
idea.
could do it better. Yeah.
Good
Maybe
idea.
go to the gym afterward, get together with some training partners and fix it afterward, and show that.
Good idea, brother.
Just some thoughts.
No, thank you. Actually, I think that's the course I'm gonna follow, because I've been conflicted all these days, thinking, what should I do? What should I do? Good that I asked you, man. You gave me the enlightenment to do it. Um, and last question for you: what is the future for Run? Oh, I have one more. Sorry,
Sure.
but this one is easy. Are you planning to come back next year?
Back to the U.S. Maybe. I've been in China for 10 years. I've been back to the U.S. 3 times in those 10 years. I may come back to Los Angeles next year. Might visit the family in Idaho. We'll see. Yeah, why?
Okay, two options. Either I go to see you, and we could train, meet, and or you can come to Miami and I show you Miami. You stay in my house. Up to you.
Well, appreciate the invite, man. I don't know if I'll go to Miami, but next time I come to the U.S., I'll let you know, man. I'll let you know. That
For
would be
sure.
fantastic. Let's get together and train, man.
For sure, man. It will be an amazing collaboration, and people will enjoy it. And I will learn a lot from you, man. For sure. But
Yeah.
the last and most important question: what is the future for you? Are you gonna keep training fighters? Are you gonna do more YouTube video, like maybe online classes for people, to help them
Hmm.
out? That would be a good product that you could actually help a lot of people. Maybe,
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know.
I've had a number of people ask about online training, and I would say, speaking of different skill sets, that is its own skill set, like being able to effectively train people online. And I I don't know if that's a talent I have right now. Maybe I'll figure it out in the future. Like if you look at YouTube, like who's big on YouTube? Are they always the best fighters? No,
No.
but a lot of these guys have a very unique talent of being able to present technique in in conjunction with multimedia in a way that makes sense to people online, and that is its own skill set. You know, like fighting is a skill set, coaching is a skill set, teaching children is its own unique skill set, and being an online trainer again is a whole separate skill set in many ways. So my future, man, that's a I feel like I'm having a job interview here. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Uh,
No, not exactly. Look, because what I'm asking you is because a few people ask me, is he gonna have classes online? Are you gonna do seminars? You have to understand, you have become,
yeah,
and I know you hate this word, but you have become like a father figure for many fighters online. You have become an inspirational person for people who want to join martial arts, and for even fighters. I have sit down and read comments. You get comments from fighters saying, Ramsey, thank you, I needed to hear this. So that's why I'm asking you. You have more power in your actions and your advices than what you may think about yourself.
yeah, that is something I've been thinking about a lot these last few days. You know, it's kind of weird, like this 100,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. Like it's kind of arbitrary, but at the same time, it's not, because that is a power, like you were saying. It is a power of influence, and it's kind of funny because YouTube started doing YouTube videos to practice speaking to other people,
Okay.
because a lot of people compliment me on my voice. They say, "Wow, you're so good at speaking. Your voice is amazing." And it wasn't always that way. I felt that, I've struggled with speech impediments. I've struggled with just being able to communicate with people, being able to look people in the eye and talk to them and have a normal conversation. And so making YouTube videos is something that I did to improve on that. Because I'm all about self improvement. That's one thing that I found helped me a lot. And I thought, well, what am I going to talk to people about? Well, I guess I'll talk to them about something that I am passionate about, something that I enjoy. So martial arts was the bulk of it. And it just so happened that a lot of people were interested in what I was saying. So yeah, that is, man, I guess it matters to a lot of people. And I've got a lot of emails that just blow my mind. Like
I'm telling you,
man,
man.
this guy a while back sent me this really heartfelt email that just, man, it made me cry. I don't remember his exact words, but essentially he just spelled out, you motivated me to change my life, and change this and this and this. And I was really depressed, and because of these changes that I made, because I watched your videos, I have set my life on a whole different path. And man, stories like that make me think,
Yeah,
it's not just a fun thing that you can do. It's not just about, that sweet YouTube ad revenue. It's about people. It's about interpersonal communication.
it is.
It's about yeah. And anytime I check the YouTube analytics and I see another person subscribed to the channel, I think, man, I wonder who that is. I wonder what their story is. Man, I want to have a conversation with that person. That is something that interests me.
In a way, you're doing it,
So
man.
yeah, yeah. So I am planning a seminar in Hangzhou, China. So for all the peeps out there in Hangzhou, um, September, got that one in. So yeah, but the future. You know, I had a thought the other day, like
Okay.
what comes after China? Because I don't know how familiar you are with immigration laws in China,
No.
but yeah, there's a limit to how long you can stay there if you're a foreigner.
Okay.
So eventually, you know, I'm going to have to move on from there. So what comes after that? It might be I don't know how long, it might be 30 years from now, but what comes after? Um, yeah, man,
Like,
take it a day at a
let,
time, and we'll see.
let's put it like this: the future is in God's hands. I know that you speak a little bit of Spanish, or you speak a lot of Spanish. I will say it in Spanish and then I will translate. We have a
Okay.
saying in Latin America that says, El hombre propone y Dios dispone. It means man proposes and God like disposes or decided, more or less as a translation.
Yeah.
So you may think, I'm going to do
Yes.
this, I'm going to do that, but no, man.
Yeah. And we can make plans, and we should. We should make plans, but at the same time, man, those be shattered instantly. But a very important principle that I've learned from martial arts, and you can see this with almost any movement, is that it is always easier to move yourself than to move the person in front of you.
Yes.
Some people call it the 80-20 rule. Like, you try to do an arm drag. You know, if that's a big, strong guy, you won't move him very much, but you can move yourself around him. So it's a similar thing with life in general. Life is it's big, it's hard. You know, it's going to throw challenge. It's going to kill you eventually.
I
So
know.
I mean, we can try to push all of that out of that way, and we're going to fail. Or we can move ourselves instead of
Yes.
trying to move the universe.
I
So,
know.
and that can be as subtle as changing our attitude about something. Not
It's hard,
necessarily
man. It's
moving
hard.
our body, but if we moved the universe essentially.
I know. Anyway, my friend, let's leave it here. I don't want to take more time out of you. It was an absolute
No worries,
pleasure
man. No worries.
having you here and getting to know you more. You are a great guy, great coach, and I hope you keep inspiring people and keep making people better in many ways, like you do now. Thank you very much, my friend. Anything else you want to say before going?
Just one more thing, man. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.
Excellent. Thank you, bro.